Hello. I'm going to delve into some of the more interesting parts of Gurdjieff's actual teaching, which involves the development of the complete man. A man who, as his pinnacle, literally has 4 separate bodies. And Gurdjieff discusses this subject at 2 scales. It's a bit confusing, but I'm going to try to separate the two. The first scale is a man who's got one body, the planetary body, the physical body, which is most people on the planet. And in this physical body there are 3 functions: physical, emotional, mental. And that's one scale, the scale of the single planetary body and its functions. And the other scale Gurdjieff discusses is the scale of superlative development. A man who is complete at the level of the physical body, the planetary body, and has mastered and owns all those 3 functions of the physical and planetary body, but has continued his development so that he has developed the astral body, the mental body, and the causal body. So he has 4 bodies. So you see there are 2 scales there. The superlative development, the spiritual development, the pinnacle man, the Übermensch, the man of power. He is a man who has 4 bodies. Gurdjieff says, on the scale of the single planetary body and its functions, he says, we have seen before that in man of physical body only, exactly the same order of relationship is possible between the various functions. The physical functions may control feeling, thought, and consciousness. This is control from below. That's the state of an undeveloped man. He is just physical. Control from below means not by the will of the man himself, but by accident. And that's the state of an undeveloped man, who is only physical, and everything inside him is unconscious and happens by accident, according to the law of accident. But if he develops himself, feeling may control the physical functions. And if he develops himself further, thought may control the physical functions and feeling. And if he develops himself further, consciousness may control the physical functions, feeling and thought. This is a man who is fully developed in the planetary body, where his will, his consciousness controls all the functions in the physical body. He has mastered himself at a human level. And Gurdjieff talks on the second scale, the superlative scale. Similarly, in one case all the functions are controlled by the physical body. It is active, it is plus, in relation to it everything else is passive or minus. And that is control from below. That is the man who has not developed his will into the higher bodies. So it's controlled below by accident. However, if he does some special spiritual work, the second body has power over the physical. And further, the third case, the mental body, has power over the astral and the physical. And in the last case, the fourth body has power over the first 3 bodies. Gurdjieff says, in man of 2, 3 and 4 bodies, the most active body also lives the longest. That is, it is immortal in relation to a lower body. Gurdjieff drew the diagram of the ray of creation, and by the side of earth he placed the physical body of man. This is ordinary man, he said, man number 1, 2, 3 and 4. He has only the physical body. The physical body dies, and nothing is left of it. The physical body is composed of earthly material, and at death it returns to earth. It is dust, and to dust it returns. It is impossible to talk of any kind of immortality for a man of this sort. But if a man has the second body, he placed the second body on the diagram parallel to the planets. This second body is composed of material of the planetary world, and it can survive the death of the physical body. It is not immortal in the full sense of the word, because after a certain period of time it also dies. But at any rate, it does not die with the physical body. If a man has the third body, he placed the third body on the diagram parallel to the sun. It is composed of material of the sun, and it can exist after the death of the astral body. The fourth body is composed of material of the starry world, that is, of material that does not belong to the solar system, and therefore, if it has crystallized within the limits of the solar system, there is nothing within the system that could destroy it. This means that a man possessing the fourth body is immortal within the limits of the solar system. So, the other day I was walking up the road and I went through my functions. Physical, feeling the physical function of my gait, and then trying to enter the mind, which is located in the spine. That's literal. Most people who work with the centers are not working with the centers themselves, they work with the functions. It's like they notice their emotions, or they notice their mental activity, or they notice the physical activity. There you are working with your functions. In other words, what comes out of the minds. But to develop mastery, you have to become a very unusual kind of human being. You know, human beings have got feelings, they work with their feelings, they take a deep breath, they try to make themselves happy. That is not what Gurdjieff's work is about. Gurdjieff's teaching is for very unusual souls who wish to go much further, to become alive in the universe. So yes, you can observe the physical body, but can you enter the mind, the physical mind, which is located in the spine? How would you do that? Right? Now answer the question. Go and do some exploration. You know, this world is much more magical than you may think. If you want it to be. I was reflecting yesterday that when we say that things are closer or further away, this is how we experience them in this world, in this dimension of space. We would say that this physical world, with the 3 dimensions of space, we would say it's normal, but it's not normal. It's something quite special. The abstract principles of greater and less than are reflected in this world by objects being further or closer together. It's simply a reflection in a particular world of abstract metaphysics, that things are closer or further. in the world of feelings, feelings can be closer or further away. For instance, compassion and love are close together. Anger is further away. Same principle, but in the world of emotions. And so I was walking down the street, as I was saying, first of all noticing the physical function, then the emotional function. My emotions are often very flat and not much is going on when I'm walking. And then the mental function, right? And again noticing, as I often have done, that I don't necessarily have the slightest clue how I'm walking down the street. I mean, obviously, my body is gifted and can balance my frame on two legs ambulating down the road. How does it do that? Well, inside the mind of the body, it has learned to do that. It's quite magical. I mean, if I had to, for instance, write down instructions for how to balance whilst walking, I don't think I could do that. And as I was performing these exercises, I could see once again that I have not the slightest clue what's going on. And nothing, nobody else does, you know. People walk down the street, they talk about the news, and then they go home and go to sleep. Like the world is asleep, you know. It's quite strange to see that. All these things, you know, that I'm talking about, Gurdjieff's teaching, if you want to learn it, it jolts you into different perspectives. You start to see through the gaps of life. It's not going to appeal to a lot of people, I suppose. Yes, and today, as I was doing many tasks, I was trying to see the linkage between the mental, the emotional, and the physical. Right? Now Gurdjieff says that in a man who has developed his will, so his will has entered the minds of the three centers, his will in the mind controls feelings, and the feelings control the physical body, and his consciousness controls the mental body. How does that work exactly? Well, what I have seen from the corner of my mind, it's more like I intuit it, is that when I want my body to move, I send a signal to it, and the signal is first of all an image. Like, for instance, I could picture this kind of closing movement, and that closing movement passes through feelings, which sends it in a sort of emotional way. Like, so it's not a visual image,